Welcome to another episode of Air Power Live. Today, the importance of ground in finishing. Got my buddy Eddie here. Eddie, is it time?
It's time. Safety first, ladies and gentlemen. Safety first.
Let's talk about ground and why it's important. Why is ground important in a finishing operation, Eddie?
Things can build up a charge, they can dissipate, and they can have a static discharge, and it'll be bad news for the flammables.
Well, that's a good reason. What's another reason?
Lots of reasons. Without a ground, electrostatic charged paints, liquids, powders don't have any place to go. They've got to go to ground. So you have to ground your parts so that they are accepting the charge that you put on the particles, and then we must bleed that charge off straight to ground, to a true earth ground. We'll talk about that in just a minute.
One thing I want to ask you though, we're going to talk about this because everybody needs to know. I've been in the finishing industry a long time. People refer to ground, but there's that word that comes up all the time, true earth ground. Those that are more worried about ground are always talking about true earth ground.
Right.
How does true earth ground play into the facts of finishing in your booth?
One, if I take my components, my feed vessel, or my parts, and just hook them to, say, a booth or your conduit outside the booth, that's not really a known earth ground. We just don't trust it to be an earth ground. The only thing we really trust to be an earth ground is a ground rod. This thing is 8 foot long. Don't cut it off. Drive it in the ground. Get it down there, right? Put it all the way down, and then you have clamps that go on the end of it that you can attach your parts to full ground. Clamps like this.
The other style.
Clamps like this. If you're in the booth, spraying in the booth all the time, a ground rod, a brass ground strip, or strip, not rod, but grounding strip is better for you to have here, but you must keep it clean. This one doesn't have paint all over it, if you notice that. If it's got paint on it, then it's isolated, then you're not going to get a good ground. So you got to have this on here, and you got to make sure that the wire that you use, and for you folks that are from the South, that's war. You have to have stranded wire. Can you see that? This is multiple strands. You can't use solid core. You have to have multiple strands. Typical ground cables have a stripe in them. Pretty identifiable. This comes with a lot of the units that we sell, the electrostatic units. It's got a clamp that you can clamp onto that ground rod. The other end, wherever you need it to clamp to, for a hose, to a pot, to a pail, whatever it needs to clamp to. So typically those come with a unit for things that roll in and out near the booth, like a portable pump or something. Expandable, nice, easy to use. Nice clip on the other side, very strong spring. It's important that this be clean. So if you got to go put it on a wire brush or whatever and keep the paint off of it, keep the paint off of it, no problem.
Eddie?
Travis?
Thank you for joining me on the ground journey. I wanted to invite you to watch more Air Power videos. Give us a call anytime at 800-334-1001. You could reach us on the internet at airpower-usa.com. And what social media channels are we on, Eddie?
All of them. LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. And the best way to get help from us is call us. We'll come out, visit you, and we'll make sure that you got a good ground.
Sounds good. Thank you, and have a great day.
See you next time.